Bryan Barnett. He is the mayor for the fine city of Rochester Hills. Great to have you with us, Mayor.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It's been a while, so Happy New Year to you.
Well, thank you. It's already starting a little bit better than last year, so that's good.
It is, but then, we went through the insurrection and all of that. Let's hope the remainder of 2021 is a little bit calmer, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm an optimist, and things seem to be trending in the right way. And so, we certainly recognize the challenges, but we look to some of the positive things that are happening both in our community, in our region, and nationally. And that's generally what I try to focus on.
So with that, how, as the mayor for Rochester Hills, how will you operate 2021 and doing business differently than 2020?
Well, so many things have, really structurally changed. I mean, the fact that even sitting here today, our building is still closed to the public requires us to reach out to our constituents in unique ways. We've had to really, harness technology and find other ways to deliver services. People's, desires to still have safe streets, plowed streets, water and sewer systems that work. Those desires and needs don't change. The way we service them has to. And so, in large measure, we've worked to kind of, reconfigure the way that we deliver services in this new environment, even the way we communicate. So we're hoping that things start to get back to normal, but we've learned a lot about ourselves in the short term, and I think it's become a better, more responsive city because of it.
There was a recent study that indicated how much the state government is saving by having so many people work remotely. Let's say we get post-pandemic. We hope to get there one day, right? Post-pandemic, do you think some of the jobs will remain remote for some of your workers there in Rochester Hills?
I don't know. I mean, I think we'll be looking at that. And one of the unique things that we're hearing now, and this is maybe a story that will come out as we get farther along, is people's desire to be back together in community with each other. And while there are some jobs that probably could always have been done from someone's living room, I mean, I think and I'm a personal believer in the fact that there is a benefit to being in community with others. I think more ideas are shared, more innovation is uncovered. And so most of the folks I hear from on my team are like, Mayor, when are we coming back? When can we come back? How soon can we get back in there? Can we come back in now? And so I think that the majority of folks in our industry, which is a very forward-facing, we deal with residents, whether we're cutting trees or welcoming them into our parks or, servicing from our Department of Public Services Department. They really deal with the public, and I think are missing that in large measure.
It is so true. With that, how's the budget looking there in Rochester Hills? Because we know the pandemic, there are so many entities and businesses suffering. How's that impacted your bottom line?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a significant concern. I mean, to be very honest with you, like most of the communities in Southeast Michigan, the budget challenges that we've had have been largely met by federal funding. That sort of stopgap funding has been really critical to keep us going. The challenge as we move forward is exactly what you identified, and that is that the real folks that are in a tremendous pinch are our small businesses. And should those be challenged in a way that they not continue to operate, that many of them close in a great percentage, that in turn obviously greatly impacts the property taxes, the values of property in our community, which ultimately funds the cities in Michigan. And so we're really on the precipice. We've been okay. I think everybody's been damaged because of this COVID environment. Some of that has been made up for by federal funding. Of course, we're in the middle of some CARES 5 or 6 or 10 or whatever CARES project it is now. More additional funding coming to cities, and the Biden plan is talking about that. But the real thing that I'm concerned about, what I'm really, really watching, of course I'm watching my budget, but I'm really watching the small businesses in our community because those are the ones that really need to succeed. That's the backbone of the economy in a place like Rochester Hills. And that's the folks I'm really rooting for now.
Yeah, but they also shape the character of a city as well.
I can't tell you how many people have seen me or have called me, contacted me, and said it's so nice to be in a restaurant again. Because in a community like Rochester Hills, I mean, we're a decent sized city, probably close to 80,000 after this next census, but there's still a real small town feel. We know the people that own our restaurants. We know the people that have served for many, many years. Oftentimes in those places, there's a relationship. There's a real familial experience in most of the places around here. And so, I think our community is going to really step up and support those folks, those small business owners that have long been the folks that we go to when the schools need support, when we want to fund our fireworks, when we want to have a parade. Those small businesses step up time and time again. And now is the time for us to show them the same support.
Yeah, but Mr. Mayor, I will say so many people have been doing so, but we're now almost 11 months into this. And so you wonder how long can that support go on? But when you hear from some of these small businesses, especially the restaurants, when, like the governor wants to get up and they talk about some of these programs and grants that are available, that money goes so quickly. So many of these businesses are not able to take advantage of it. So there is a gap there between trying to make them thrive and survive and the realities of getting them there.
No, absolutely. And I think, there'll be a lot of lessons learned. And we've seen a lot of different states handle this process differently. There'll be, I'm sure, no shortage of Monday morning quarterbacking to see which states did it well and which regions, even in states, did it better than others. But there's no doubt that we need a sophisticated approach to this. The vaccine entering the communities, I think, is hopefully going to give people more confidence to get back to a more normal sense of life. But they are truly at their breaking point. They really are. And small businesses, even restaurants now in Michigan, open at 25%. You ask most restaurant owners, they can't make a living at 25% capacity. They can't make hardly a living at 50. They have very small margins that they operate on. And so this isn't helpful for them. The movie industry, yes, they can be open, but there are new films at the moment because that industry has been off for some time. So just because the spigot is turned on doesn't mean that these folks are out of the woods yet. And you're exactly right. We're going to have to, as a community, as people that live in a region that supports these small businesses, we're gonna have to make a conscious effort to do more than we typically have in the past if we want to see them survive.
Bryan Barnett with us here on the MegaCast. He's the mayor for the City of Rochester Hills. I've tried to eliminate my Amazon purchases because it is easy, right? Boop, swipe. I don't even think I have to swipe anymore. It just, goes to the credit card and shows up at your door. But I've tried to stop doing that to get out into our neighborhoods to try to find these businesses to support them. And we encourage everyone to continue to do that. But as you said, the restaurants are reopened. We are going into Valentine's Day weekend. But what is the issue or how are you handling some of the complaints that are coming in about businesses not adhering to these restrictions for COVID-19?
Yeah. Well, for the most part, those restrictions go to the county. We don't have enforcement jurisdiction. Obviously, if there's something really obvious, but we use the sheriff's department here, and they're not, in buildings enforcing 25% capacity or masks or something unless there's a significant disturbance or issue. So for the most part, that's the county health department, and it's unfortunate. It's really a tough thing. You see these restaurants that put a lot of money into igloos and changing their outdoor seating area to allow it, and they're struggling. They're trying to do what they can do to keep their employees employed and to make a living. And they're also trying to understand rules that change a lot, and oftentimes within a couple of days, and they see what things are going on in neighboring states. And so it's really challenging. Like I said, I have a tremendous heart for the small business owners in our community because I've seen what they've gone through the last 11 months. And the number one thing that kills a business is uncertainty. And there's been nothing but uncertainty for the last 11 months. And so it's very difficult to invest. It's very difficult to know, okay, listen, I'm gonna spend $10,000 to retrofit my outdoor patio with igloos, but then find out that you can't do it because a certain heater isn't approved, or you have to, those restrictions, and now there's a curfew that ends at 10 or something. So uncertainty is the death knell of most businesses, and we've got to do something to address that.
That is such a great point. I didn't grasp the reality of that until years ago. I went to Kosovo, and businesses were not going into that country and investing because of just that, the uncertainty. And when you have that, the dollars and the investment do not follow. And so it's such a great point that you brought up there. But with that, you guys are still trying to be innovative and continuing on there in Rochester Hills. I've been on your website and I have to ask you, it's like you have on your upcoming events list. You have the Michigan Ice Film Festival coming up, but also the Antler and Bone jewelry making class. I'm like, that's creative.
Yeah, what we found, there's always some blessings, right? In every storm, there's storm clouds, there's some silver linings, and what we found here over the last year is that people love our parks. They love and appreciate our park network, and so we've been doubling down and investing in those over the last year. Innovation Hills, our newest park, is the kind of famous because it has all glow-in-the-dark sidewalks. Only place in Michigan that has it. We just broke ground on a $4 million playground, probably the biggest playground in Michigan over the last number of years. And so not only are we investing in our parks, we're also finding that you can do a lot of outdoor activities. The event that you just mentioned is one of a series of outdoor events that we're having. And every time we have them, they're populating quickly. They're filling up. We're selling them out. And it's a chance for families to do something. They don't have to travel. It's close to home. It's a unique experience. And it's a great way for us to step up and fill the void that's being created by so many things being closed for so long. People are returning to their local parks, and we're taking advantage of that.
That is awesome. I have to ask you, as someone who is an elected official and the mayor there in the city of Rochester, what has this pandemic, how has it impacted you on a personal level and how you operate as well, being the mayor of the city?
Well, at the beginning of the pandemic, I was not only the mayor of the city of Rochester Hills, but I was the president of the United States Conference of Mayors. So I was the mayor of the whole country, the mayor of America. And so I was at the White House quite often. I was, believe it or not, on all sorts of Zooms and meetings with Dr. Birx, Dr. Fauci, and many of the others, kind of crafting the policies and representing mayors across the country. It was incredibly demanding. I had COVID. I had to isolate myself away from my family for 10 days, was significantly sick for a couple days, not terribly. So it impacted me personally in that manner. And now, I think I've realized there are so many different perspectives out there on how this has changed the American experience, from one that we've covered quite a bit, the business owner's perspective, but also, the other thing that we're really challenged with is education, right? So many parents trying to get their kids back to school, wanting to get some sense of normalcy back in terms of education. We saw what happened in Lansing with the return to play. Of course, there's a segment of the population that is concerned about returning to normal activities. And so, that's another thing in our community that I think is going to have a really long-term impact, is this year of education. Where have we gone as a country? How far are we now behind other places in the world? Did we all sort of lose a year? How do we, deal with some of the mental health issues that have resulted from this? And so you asked me how it's impacted me. It's forced me to look at a lot of different perspectives. Anytime you mention the word COVID, there's about 9 different ways I hear that word. As a father of school-aged kids, as the mayor with businesses in my community, as an employer with 600 or 700 employees, trying to understand how this works. As an elected leader, trying to give calm and sense to a senior citizen who emails me and says, I'm 87, I can't get the vaccine, can you help? There's a lot of different ways you have to look at this. And I guess that's probably the one life lesson, or the one real practical takeaway that I've come away from, is like, you need to stop, pause, and think about this in a lot of different ways.
And that's what's so hard, is you have to honor and respect everyone's views and wishes, and they may not be your own. But also on that, is the mayor, there are a lot of restrictions put on businesses within your community that you have no control over. Do they understand that you're not the person that made these decisions?
Sometimes. I mean, it's the same thing with schools, and I've got people saying, Mayor, just let them go back to school. Well, that's of course not my call. Or Mayor, let the businesses stay open until midnight. Of course, that's not my call. Can't we, throughout the course of the pandemic, can't we go fishing? Can't we go golfing? Can't you just make this happen in your city? And of course, part of it is understanding, where the authority lies. And of course, as a city, most cities, certainly in Michigan, don't have their own public health departments, so we rely on the expertise from the county or from the state. So, I don't want to be in the position of making health-related decisions for my residents, but I am in the position to get as much information as I can, distill that information, and then disseminate that through appropriate channels to as many people as possible. So, there are always people that are concerned and confused a little bit about the levels of government and who has the authority. And this pandemic has probably clouded that a little bit, but one of our most important jobs in elected life is to share information and to make sure your population, your constituents are as educated as possible so that they can make the best decisions for themselves and for their family. And we spend an awful lot of time doing that here in Rochester Hills.
Well, Mr. Mayor, we so appreciate your time and your perspective as well. Anything I didn't touch on that you want to share with our listeners and viewers before we let you go?
Well, we appreciate your listeners and viewers and would always welcome them to Rochester Hills. We are open for business. We've got some great places here. And if you haven't ever been to some of our parks, Innovation Hills, Borden, Bloomer, Spencer, take a look at our website. It's a really cool experience, not more than probably 10 minutes for 15 minutes from your listeners' area. And we love to invite you here to Rochester Hills. We're pretty proud of our community and we love showing it off to others.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
No problem. Have a great day.